Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new around here, hello, welcome. My name is Charlotte. I'm just going to apologise now for this whole video from the thumbnail because I haven't done a thumbnail for a while and one of the books just didn't want to stay still. I'm also going to apologise for the fact that this is probably going to feel rushed, hopefully, because I kind of want to rush it. And that is also why we're in this background, why I look like this, why I look so pale and like half effort, and why I've literally just got a plain black t-shirt on because I'm squeezing this filming in before I go to work. I have just been so busy with work because I'm working basically like 6 days a week when the weather's good. And then on my days off, no offence, don't really want to be filming a booktube video. I want to be chilling, I want to be reading, I want to be watching booktube. Also, my days off, I also have a driving lesson, so that kind of takes a couple of hours out of my day. But today I'm going to be doing my May wrap up. Just like my April wrap up, it's a bit slumpy. We're still slumping. I have 5 books to talk about here, but the trick is I only fully read 2 this month. I also have 1 film. I watched a film this month, shock horror, and 1 TV show to talk about this month. Again, I've barely watched anything or read anything. So the first book that I want to talk about is one that I started in April and finished in May, and that is Rule of Wolves. I've obviously already talked about this in my April wrap up, which I'll leave linked in the description below. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really did enjoy it. I had so much fun. It just destroyed me in all the best ways. Like, I'm still mad at one of the things that happened in this, but also it's just such a good time. I can understand some people's criticisms about it, that it sometimes does just feel a bit different and a bit distant from the other Grishaverse books, but I still enjoy this duology. It's definitely not my favourite within the Grishaverse. I'd probably say it's my least favourite. Sometimes it is a bit, we're just doing this just for the emotional impact and just because we already know these characters and just because Lee Bardugo knows that people are going to read them just because of the characters that are in it. But I still had a good time and I still enjoyed seeing so many characters in this that we know from the Grishaverse. The ending, I kind of do want more books, but I think we're not going to, and if we do get anything, it's going to be a Six of Crows book. I have got a reading vlog for this book where I read not just this, but Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows, so I'll leave that link in the description below for you to check out so you can see more of my in-depth thoughts as I've read this book. The next book that I read in the month of May is the first book that I read fully, and I read it in 1 sitting because it's a graphic novel and because I always read these books in 1 sitting, and that is Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman. We all know I'm trash this series. We all know I love this series and this graphic novel series so much, just like everybody else. And this one was just so pure. If you don't know what Heartstopper is about, where have you been? The TV show's coming out soon, or they've started filming it. It follows our main characters Nick and Charlie, and they meet at school, and they're in the same form, and then they start to become friends, and then it just turns into more. It's gay. It's beautiful. We love to see it. This deals more with Nick and Charlie's feelings and the progression of their relationship. I don't feel like I have too much to say about the Heartstopper books because it's not like it is Pride and Prejudice and it's some historical amazing bit of literature. It is literally just fluffy, gay, cute, graphic novelness. That is literally what it is, and it's just something that you can just read in 1 sitting and just make you feel so good, so happy, and I just love it. So I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I don't really know if it's my favourite. I couldn't really say which one's my favourite because, not gonna lie, they all kind of like blur into one. The next book that I read in the month of May was a DNF. And I should have expected this. It wasn't that I hated or didn't like the first book. I liked the first book in this series. But I kind of knew when I finished the first book that I was happy and that I was okay with leaving the first book as just the first book, and that's that. I knew I did want to read this book, the second book, but I didn't need to because even though it's a series and it is a continuation, like it does, you know, it's a series. I now can see the first book as just a standalone, and I will be getting rid of this book and just keeping the first book because I do like that book as just a standalone, and that is God's Grave by J. Christoph. I liked Nevernight. It took me a while to get into it, but I liked it. As I said, even though it continues and the story does continue in the series and into this book, I can leave Nevernight as it is. I know it kind of leaves on a cliffhanger and it's not like everything's resolved, but I can leave Nevernight as a standalone and as that's the end. And I tried to read God's Grave, but I just gotta admit that like dark, high fantasy, adult fantasy is not my thing. I just can't read a book and a series of high adult fantasy where the author is just using really crass language all the time and is talking about penises and stuff like that all the time. It's just not me. Each to their own. If you enjoy that, that's you, that's cool, but it's not me. Sorry to all you Nevernight stands out there. I will be getting rid of this. I probably will be unhauling it. I just don't need it in my life. The next book that I read in the month of May was a buddy read with the amazing Mafalda over on Mafalda's Reading, and that is The Embryonic Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I've been meaning to read this series for literally years, ever since I probably discovered BookTube. And recently I've had a few of my friends read and absolutely love this series to the point that it's their brand. I got this for Christmas from Connor, and then I think I saw that Mafalda got it, and then we kind of arranged a little buddy read, and then we buddy read this in May, and it's so good. I had so much fun with this book. I gave it a 4.5, but a 4 out of 5 stars. I think when you first initially get into this book, you are like, what is this world? I don't really understand this world enough. But it is so good at building this world because it does it so slowly and you don't even notice it. You get to the end of the book and you're like, yeah, I understand this world. I know what this world is. So this is a book kind of based off of ancient Rome. I think that's what I read about it. It's kind of based off that kind of whole empire, and it follows our main character Leia, or Laia, I think that's how you pronounce it. Her parents used to be part of this group called the Resistance, which were resisting against this empire that of, you know, controlling kind of the country and the city and whatever. But they were killed because of what they were doing, and then when these masks, who were kind of like the soldiers of the empire, come and kill her grandparents and then kidnap or kind of take her brother away to be trialed and put to prison, she seeks out the Resistance to get justice for her brother and to find her brother. She ends up becoming a spy for the empire, for the kind of woman who runs kind of the school or the kind of academy of this empire. She knows going into it that it's one of the most like dangerous and most like kind of terrifying roles as a slave that she can be. And it also follows Elias, who is the son of the commandant, this ruler, this woman who is the leader of the academy of the empire, and he is training to become a mask. His family and everybody around him expecting in him and wanting him to become this amazing soldier, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to live by the empire's rule. He just wants to be free. He just wants to live his own life, and was planning on deserting until he gets put forward to these trials to become the next emperor. That's it. So it follows these two characters as we are learning more about the empire and learning more about the people within this empire, and it's just so good. Oh my god, I enjoyed it so much. I really love both our characters. I think the characters are written so well, like incredibly well. They're all so amazing. Like all these characters you have such strong feelings for. You love Leia because she's so strong, yet also not. She's very complex and I just love her, and Elias is such a sweet heart. I love him. I love Elias. He's such a sweet bean. I love him. And the commandant you just want to kill because she is honestly the worst human being I've ever read. I cried, I teared up a little bit of this book for a villain, or not for a villain but for like a not a good guy. And if that tells you anything about this book, oh, so good. The main reason why I didn't give this a 5 out of 5 stars is just how repetitive Leia is with her.
Oh, I'm so weak. I'm not like my mum and my dad and my brother who are so strong. I'm so weak.
That just got really repetitive and really just like same old, I'm bored of this now, when obviously we know that she's going to go on and be like,
I'm so strong like my mum and my dad and my brother.
That was the only bit that annoyed me, so that's why I probably didn't give it like a 5 out of 5 stars. But the rest of it was amazing. It also made me uncomfortable in so many ways of how like the slaves are treated. I will put trigger warning for rape and mention of rape and just rape culture in this book, because how the word and how it is discussed in this book is just so nonchalant. It is just common knowledge for the trainee masks and for the masks and just for the people who aren't slaves within this academy to rape the slaves. It was just on the page and I was like, oh, okay. And that did make me very uncomfortable at parts, because I was like, you could use different words, but maybe it's for the impact, I don't know. But I still had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it so much, and I cannot wait to continue on this series. And the final book that I want to talk about that I had started in the month of May is one that I'm doing for my next This Versus That vlog series. And this is a book that before the film came out would never have thought about picking up, but because the film came out a couple of years ago and loved it, I've been wanting to read it for a while, and I'm reading it for, as I said, for the This Versus That video. And by the end of May I was probably like 50 pages in. I wasn't even that far, but now I'm about 100 pages. I'm a few days into June now, and that is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Do I need to say much about this book? First of all, I can't, because I'm barely through it, but I am enjoying it. Who'd have thought that Charlotte would enjoy a classic? It doesn't feel like a classic. It doesn't feel like a classic in the sense of like Jane Austen classic style. It's a lot more of an easier reading style, and because I already know the story from the film, I'm loving it. I think it's also helped me re-remember a lot from the film and realise how accurate the film is and how so far accurate the film is. And so in moments I go, oh my god, yeah, I remember that from the film. I don't really have much to say about this yet because I'm barely through it. I will talk about this more in my June wrap up, because of course I'm going to read the majority of this and finish this in June. So for TV shows and film, of course, as I said, I watch one of each. The film that I watched is a rewatch, but it's one that I haven't seen since I was a kid. and I watched it when I was with my best friend when I visited her in Canterbury because she's still at uni. So I went back to my uni town, saw that, had a grand time, and we watched, because why not, we watched Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior. This film defined my childhood. I loved this film so much as a kid, just like so many other Disney Channel original movies. I don't think it's as good as I remember it being. This one's got Brenda Song in it, who we know as London Tipton from Sweet Life, and it's about Wendy, who is just living her popular girl life when she finds out that her like destiny or something is to become this like martial arts warrior. The plot is your most basic Disney Channel original movie plot. The one thing that you would think wouldn't make this film unbearable, because it's so Disney Channel to do this, made it unbearable, and that was just how prolonged and how slow the fight scenes were. Like, we love a good fight scene, we love a good martial arts fight scene, but they were so long. They would go on for like 5 minutes, and you're like, you could have ended this fight 5 minutes ago. And the one TV show that I watched this month and I want to talk about is one that, again, I watched with my best friend when I was in Canterbury because I actually had time to just sit down and do nothing and watch stuff. And we binge watched the first 2 seasons of this in like a day, and the 3rd season is currently airing, so I need to catch up on that. And that is a TV show that I've heard a little bit of hype about recently, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch it at some point. But my friend who'd already watched it was like, yeah, we should like watch it. She wanted to rewatch it and ready for season 3, so we just kind of watched it together. And that is Motherland. I'm obsessed with this show. It's so, so good. This is a classic British comedy, and I'm thinking along the lines of like Afterlife and Outnumbered, and I can't think of any others off the top of my head. But you know the kind of British comedy style that I'm talking about. So this centers around our main character Julia, and she's got 2 kids, and she's kind of slowly starting to become more part of her kid's life, and she wants to become more involved in terms of being a parent at the school. So you see her kind of meeting and kind of becoming friends with some of the other mums and parents at her kid's school. We focus on other mums slash parents of these kids as well, and you can so easily look at these mums and go, I remember a mum like that from when I was at school. We've got Liz, who is my queen. I love her. I want to be Liz when I'm older. She's a single mum who just says what she wants, thinks what she wants, and does what she wants, and she's just so sarcastic and so, I just love her. You've also got Kevin, who is a precious being, and I want to marry him. He deserves the world. He's that kind of like awkward, tries too hard dad. And then you've got Amanda, who is your typical millennial mum, who is very annoying, but she's such an amazing, complex character. And I can 100% see so many mums. I recognise so many mums from when I was in like primary school from her. And then you've also got Anne, who is like your emotional wreck mum, tries to bubble wrap her kids, and is also like, are you okay, Anne? And Julia herself is just such a complex character, and she's kind of me as a mum. She's just trying her best, and she's like obviously wanting to progress with her career, but she also wants to be part of her kid's life, but she's also like done with everybody else's crap. It's so good, and it also deals with Julia's relationship with her mother and that strained relationship. If you've been hearing a little bit of hype about it recently, definitely give it a watch. It's so good. So that is it for my May wrap up. I think this one was quite quick, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below anything that you read slash watched in the month of May, and any of your opinions on the stuff that I read and watched in the month of May. But once again, please bear with me as I try and work out my life and my future with BookTube and how I'm going to do BookTube. Am I just going to be doing random reading vlogs and occasional wrap-ups and maybe occasional videos where I feel motivated and really want to film a video? Maybe that's what it's going to be. I think it probably will be, because that takes less pressure off me. I don't want to pressure myself to always have a video each week and always have a video idea each week, because right now that's not what's on my noggin. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe, turn my notification bell so you know when I'm next going to post. All my social media links are linked in the description below, and with that all said and done, I'll see you all in my next video.